The wrong gate. The dust of the Texas trail clung to her veil as Clara Langford stepped down from the stagecoach. Her hands trembled, not from the long ride, but from the beating of her heart. She had been married by proxy 3 weeks ago, her name signed in ink by a lawyer she had never met, her vows spoken over paper, and her soul tied to a rancher she had never seen. She had been told this man, Mr. Henry Talbot, lived on the 3rd ranch past the big cottonwood grove, a man of good standing, with cattle acres, and a need for a wife to tend his home and perhaps bring him children. Clara, an orphan and alone in the world, had clung to the promise of a husband like a drowning soul clings to driftwood. But when she stepped past the gates of the wide, weathered ranch, something felt wrong. The yard was filled with children's toys scattered across the porch, a rag doll, a wooden horse, even a jump rope coiled on the steps. Chickens scratched close by, and a gray barn cat lazed in the sun. And then, laughter. 3 little girls came rushing out, their dresses patched but clean, their braids bouncing as they ran. They stopped short when they saw her, staring at the stranger in a white dress with eyes wide as moons. Are you Mama?" the smallest whispered, her thumb still in her mouth. Clara's lips parted in shock. "No, darling. I think there's been a mistake." Before she could retreat, the heavy steps of boots crossed the porch. A tall man, broad in the shoulders and sun-darkened from years of ranch work, stood in the doorway. His shirt was rolled to the elbows, his jaw rough with a day's beard. His eyes, deep gray like a coming storm, fixed on her with equal parts confusion and alarm. "Who are you?" His voice was low, guarded, as though he expected bad news. Clara swallowed. I'm Clara Langford. I was sent here by Coach. I believe I'm your wife." The man's brow furrowed hard. He took a step down the porch, his boots thudding against the wood. "Your what?" "Your wife," she repeated, her voice trembling. I was told this was Mr. Henry Talbot's ranch. I married him by proxy. The church papers were signed and witnessed." The man let out a sharp breath, almost a laugh, but without mirth. "Lady, I'm not Henry Talbot. My name's Daniel Reeves. And you've been sent to the wrong ranch." Clara's knees weakened. The girls, clutching each other, stared up at her as though she had fallen from heaven. The oldest, about 9, whispered with a kind of fierce hope, "Papa, maybe God sent her." Daniel shot his daughter a look, then turned back to the trembling bride. "There's been a mistake, Miss Langford. You'd best go back and find your rightful husband." But Clara's eyes brimmed with tears. She had nowhere else to go. Chapter 2: God's Hand in the Wrong Gate. The night settled heavy over the Reeves ranch, crickets chirping in the grass while a lantern glowed inside the kitchen. Clara sat stiffly at the table, her veil folded neatly in her lap. The children hovered around her like moths to a flame, their eyes hungry for warmth and womanhood. Daniel Reeves leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, watching the stranger. He was a widower, his wife taken by fever 2 winters ago. Since then, he had carried the ranch, the cattle, and his 3 daughters on his back. He had prayed for help, though he would never admit how often. And now, this woman. Not his wife. Not his bride. Yet sitting there with his girls leaning against her skirts as if she had been born to mother them. Clara spoke at last, her voice soft but steady. "I cannot return tonight. The coach won't come back through until Saturday. If you'll permit me, I'll sleep in the barn." The girls gasped. "No, Papa. She'll freeze," cried the youngest, clinging to Clara's arm. Daniel rubbed his forehead. "She can stay in the guest room. For the night." That night stretched into days. Clara cooked, her hands steadying over the stove, her voice humming lullabies the girls had never heard since their mamma's passing. She stitched their dresses, braided their hair, and told them bedtime stories. And Daniel, hardened as he was, began to see the truth written in his daughter's eyes. On the third day, when the stagecoach came rattling back through, Daniel stood with Clara at the gate. "This is your chance to go," he said, voice low. Clara nodded, her eyes fixed on the horizon. She had dreamed of a husband waiting for her. But she had not dreamed of 3 little girls clinging to her skirts, whispering as they did now, "Don't go, Mama. Please stay. God sent you to Papa." Daniel's chest tightened. He looked at Clara, the woman who had been sent by mistake, and yet had filled every empty space in their home in less than a week. Finally, his voice broke the silence. Maybe they're right. Maybe God did send you." Clara's tears fell, not of sorrow, but of relief. She turned from the coach, stepping back toward the porch, and the girls cheered as though heaven itself had answered their prayers. And Daniel Reeves, the man who thought he'd never love again, took her hand. The wrong ranch had become the right one, by the grace of God.